And hello, welcome back. Welcome to the Life and Legacy show, sponsored by the Seckler Law Firm. If you've listened before, welcome back. I guess if this is your first time listening, welcome to the Estate Planning and Elder Law show, where we talk about all things wills, trust, powers of attorney. We talk about long-term care expenses. We talk about things like needing the nursing home and how to protect money. We talk about post-death administration. Sometimes this show is about legal technical stuff. Sometimes it's about current events. Sometimes it's just about whatever the heck I want to talk about. My name is Tim Seckler. I own the Seckler Law Firm, which is headquartered in Mars, Pennsylvania. We have a couple of other offices around the Western Pennsylvania area. And we have built a law firm that only does estate planning. I don't do traffic tickets. I don't do criminal work. I don't do divorces. I see my role as helping families plan well for the things that they have and the people that they love. And in this week's episode, what we're going to talk about is planning for young families. So if you are a young family, listen up. This one's for you, and this will be good. You need to hear this, especially if you have little kids. You need to listen to this episode. If you are a grandparent of little kids, you need to have your kids listen to this show, because this show is all for them and how to do this thing correctly. And I'm doing this particular episode this week. If you've listened to the last couple of weeks, you know that I have been getting in on some of the current events that are in the news. And if you watch the news just about every day, it gives you something to think about and talk about with your family and walk through. And this week did not let down. Unfortunately, we had the incident with Tiger Woods this week, in the car accident where he's now severely broke one leg and had to go through all the surgery and stuff. So here's Tiger Woods, and he's probably on his way to train for golf, or he's on his way to do something, living life. He's gotten back into this thing. He won a major a couple of years ago after a hiatus with a whole bunch of personal stuff. And then all of a sudden, we're in an accident, and he's injured, and he's disabled, and he's probably in a wheelchair for a while. And if it can happen to him, it can happen to us. Now, I can tell you this. I bet Tiger Woods had a plan. I bet he had some disability work done. I bet he had power of attorney in place. I bet he has trust in place. I bet he has some things in place to deal with the situation. But the question is, do you? And have you even thought this thing through? And so what we're going to do in this show is walk through a couple of scenarios. I'm going to do a scenario where a family, we're going to do sort of a case study here. A family that has basic estate planning. Maybe they printed something off the internet. I guess that story would be about the same if they didn't do any planning, because half of that stuff that you print off the internet is no good. You really have to work with a customized estate plan and a planner who's going to set that up for you. Before we get into the technical stuff, here's what I need to warn you. Do not make decisions regarding your affairs, your estate, your legal situation based on what you hear on this show or any other radio show for that matter. This is not legal advice. Yes, I'm a lawyer, but you are not my client. I'm doing this show as an educational thing. I hope you learn some stuff, and I hope you find it entertaining. But don't go on the internet and start printing something and then say, well, I heard that guy on the radio say you should do it this way or that way. You really need to work with a lawyer with regard to your specific situation. There you go. See, I can't even get through my radio show without doing legal work. This time I'm trying to protect myself. Don't do the stuff unless you're working with a lawyer. Got it? All right. So here's the thing. If you want information on anything I'm about to talk about, let's say maybe you don't have the whole half hour to listen to the show, go to secklerlawfirm.com. That's SECHLER lawfirm.com, or give us a buzz at 724-841-1393. All right. So here's the case study. Let's do a situation where we've got young parents. Maybe they're roughly 30 years old and they got a little kid. Let's say 5 years old. All right. So here's the situation. You have a legal Zoom will, or not to pick on them in particular, you've got some online will and you didn't do it correctly. And you go on a date. Okay. Let's say you're comfortable in this pandemic, going out to dinner. So you have, you drop the kid off at the sitter's, or the sitter comes to the house and you say, here's our cell phone numbers. We'll see you at 10. Okay. Now we've got a will in the event that passes away. And let's say that will has names a guardian in the event something happens to us, and that will maybe even has an underage trust or whatever. And so there it is. Okay. Now we go off to dinner. and you have a great time. Maybe you have a glass of wine. On the way home, you're in an accident, right? And unfortunately, this accident, it takes your life. And it takes your spouse's wife or your partner's life, rather. All right. So now, little Johnny, who's with the babysitter, doesn't know it yet, but he just lost his parents. All right. Now, look, I didn't say listening to the show was going to be easy or fun. I said you needed to listen to it because it's important. All right. So hang with me here. We got to deal with this stuff. This is real world stuff and you got to deal with it. Okay. So little Johnny just lost his parents. But nobody knows that the kid's at the babysitter's house. Okay. So here they are. And the police show up and the ambulance shows up and nobody even knows who these people are. They pull the IDs, but that doesn't tell them a whole lot. They don't know that there's a 5-year-old Johnny at a babysitter. And so 10 o'clock comes and 10 o'clock goes and the babysitter starts calling and there's no answer. And then the babysitter keeps calling. It's now 11 o'clock. The babysitter's concerned, starts calling, no answer. Finally, maybe a police officer answers the phone and tells her what happens. All right, so here's the babysitter. She's got Johnny. What happens? Well, what happens is the police show up and a social worker shows up from Department of Youth Services. And these are the folks, complete strangers to Johnny, who have to determine what's going on. What are we going to do with Johnny tonight? Okay. Babysitter doesn't know the rest of the family. And here's Johnny dealing with complete strangers with police cars in the driveway, people with badges on, breaking bad news to him. He doesn't know how to handle it. And the social worker's job is to figure out what's the safest thing to do with Johnny. Maybe they make a determination it's the babysitter, but then again, maybe the babysitter has to go to work in the morning. What's going to happen here? And a lot of people think, well, hey, look, this family did a will. And in that will, they probably named a guardian for their kids. Maybe they named one of their siblings. But where's the will? We're at the babysitter's house. The babysitter doesn't have the will. Nobody knows who mom and dad wanted to be in control of this situation. Yeah, sure, down the road, somebody's going to break in the house. Somebody's going to get the will. Somebody's going to say that they appointed a sibling as the guardian. Somebody's going to see all of that. Then they're going to go to the courthouse. Then they're going to get the judge to properly appoint this individual to be the guardian of the kid. But that's days, if not weeks down the road. What happens to Johnny tonight? What if instead of that situation, you created a good estate plan? And in that good estate plan was a document called a standby guardianship that is designed specifically to handle this situation. And what that document says is, for a short period of time, I name my brother, or I name the child's grandma, or you name the neighbor as the standby temporary guardian to take Johnny. Because if Johnny's going to have the worst night of his life, shouldn't he do it with somebody he knows? Shouldn't he do it with an aunt or an uncle? Shouldn't he do it with a grandma or a grandpa? Shouldn't he at least do it with a friend or a neighbor so that that person can give some comfort and care, rather than doing it with a social worker or, God forbid, some foster family that is a great family and has great intentions but doesn't know Johnny from anybody else, and now Johnny ends up in their house? If you have the standby guardianship paperwork complete, and this is just an example of what an effective estate plan looks like, but if you have the standby guardianship document in place, and let's say you name your sibling, okay, Johnny's uncle, and Johnny's uncle phone number is given to the babysitter as an emergency contact when you go out on the date. And so when we figure out that mom and dad didn't make it home at 10 or 11, or when we get the police show up or whatever, we got Uncle John's, I guess I shouldn't use John, we got Uncle Bill's phone number to call and say, hey, you need to get over here, right? And then Uncle Bill shows up, and little Johnny's uncle shows up, and he says, thank goodness, and at least he's got his uncle there with him. And Uncle Bill shows up with the standby guardianship paperwork to show the police and to show the social worker that he's the proper person. And now Johnny's with his uncle. It's still a terrible situation, but isn't that a better outcome? Do you see the difference between having a document and having a plan? All right, we can go fast forward. We can go what happens the next couple of years. Okay, if you want to do that, we can go the next couple of years. But the point that I'm making is, sometimes when I'm doing estate planning for clients, in particular young families, they'll say things to me like, we need to get wills, or we just need simple wills. Okay. And I'll ask the question, why are you here? And they'll kind of look at me funny. And I'll say, well, listen, there's two reasons people call me. Some people call me because they want to feel good. They want to check the box because somebody told them you're not a great parent unless you do a will. So they want to check the box that they're a great parent. And they say, well, we just want simple wills. Look, we've got a simple situation. We've got only this much money. And we just want simple wills. And so I'll tell them, look, if you want the simplest thing I got simple. Well, you can do simple. You'll save a few bucks. Let's do simple. Or are you the other kind of client who is here to truly do the right thing for their family, right? And of course, look, what are they going to say? Nope, no, I don't want to do the right thing for my family. I just want to do the simple thing. Look, and I don't get that forward with you. Don't be intimidated. Give me a call. I'm a nice guy. But the point that I'm trying to make to you is this is real stuff, all right? This is where the rubber hits the road with regard to parenting. A good parent, a great parent, is there for the kids. And a great parent also plans for their own absence. If I'm not here, who's gonna be? And what are they gonna do? And how are they gonna treat my kid? And what are the values I want to impart on my kid? And what are the messages I'd like to record and leave to my kid on their 16th birthday? What about that? What if you got your cell phone out right now and recorded a video of yourself leaving your kid a message on their 16th birthday, 18th birthday, 21st birthday, wedding night? Because you don't know that you're gonna be there. But what a lasting impression if something happens to me and I'm not there. At least I can be there in spirit, and I can give some meaningful messages to my kids, right? Now that's estate planning. That's planning for your family. That's great planning. Okay? Yes, we need to do the thing for the day that you pass away, because listen, we're all going to pass away. And it could happen tomorrow, and we could be in an accident, or we could get sick, or we could be like Tiger Woods and be in a terrible car accident. This stuff happens, folks. And raising a child is not playtime. Raising a child, we have an obligation to do the right thing for these kids, whether we're there or not. And I get, and so here's the thing. Here's how you do this, okay? The problem, and the reason people go to these LegalZoom documents or the whatever online documents, and they print something off. I've read a lot of these online documents, and truth be known, the documents aren't terrible. The problem is nobody knows how to use it. It's like having a hammer, but you don't understand which end to hit the nail with. And people screw up their own stuff. And so the reason that people are so attracted to the online thing is because working with traditional law firms stinks. I got to take a day off of work because the lawyer's not working past 5 or 6 o'clock. I'm going to take a day off of work. I got to drive downtown. I got to pay to park. I got to ride up the elevator to some ivory tower where the attorney I'm going to sit with doesn't know me from anybody else, wants me to get out of his office as soon as possible because he's got the bigger case to work on. And I'm paying an initial consultation. I'm dealing with a rude receptionist, and maybe I get the will that actually does something, or maybe I don't. Maybe the guy just wants me out of his office. And I'm sorry, I don't want to knock my own profession, but there's a lot of law firms that operate that way. And, you tell them you want to do an estate plan, and you sit down with them, and they say, who's your executor and who gets it? Right? Who's your executor and who gets it? Well, listen, there's a lot more questions we ought to be answering here. What happens if the person who dies that I'm leaving it to dies before me? What happens if the executor's not there? What happens if the guardian I've named for this kid is no longer there? What happens night one? What happens if when my kid turns 25? Does it distribute from the trust? What about when the life insurance pays out? This is a real pet peeve of mine. People that do halfway estate planning, they'll write a will. And let's say I wrote you a great will. Like, let's say you went to a lawyer and you got the best will, right? And it had all the bells and whistles, and it had all the trusts, and it had every option you could have in it. The thing has power windows, and it has air ride suspension. It's got everything a will could need, right? Here's what everybody does. They have the will, and then for young families, most of them, the real money is in life insurance, right? We all buy these term life insurance contracts. The real money's in life insurance. Well, life insurance doesn't go according to your will. Life insurance is a contract with an insurance company that's going to pay it to whoever you told them to pay in the contract. And you probably don't even remember who that was. You probably got the contract before you had a child, right? And so they get the, let's say a parent goes out and buys $1 million life insurance contract, a term policy for somebody in their late 20s, 30s. It's not all that expensive to do. So you go buy $1 million, right? Feels good. If I'm not here, there's $1 million here. But where's it going? What most people do is they name it all to my spouse and then to my kids. But wait a second. We have this whiz-bang will. And this whiz-bang will, this great will, has underage trusts. And it says, Uncle Bill is in control of the money until my child turns 25, at which point in time they can get a third. And then they can get another third at age 30. And then, you can do all of this stuff. But then people leave the beneficiary control of the designated assets outright. Right? So the life insurance just says, give it to my spouse or my kids. It doesn't say give it to the estate. It doesn't say send it to the trust. So you've done this great planning to try to keep your kid, the idea of an underage trust is we don't want our kids getting a whole lot of money on their 18th or 21st birthday, right? Most of us would make mistakes if we got a whole bunch of money on our 21st birthday. So we run the money in a trust for a lot longer with somebody that we trust in control of the money. They have the pen to the checkbook. But if you just leave your life insurance outright to the kid, guess what? You just sidestep that planning. And a lot of people, the biggest problem that people that don't do good estate planning, one of the biggest symptoms is when the beneficiary designations don't line up with what the will says. Or if you do a trust, we need to have the money go to the trust because it's the estate planning document, whether it be a will or a trust, that does the heavy lifting on the important stuff. It answers the other questions. Look, we don't often get the question, who gets it wrong? Give it to my spouse and my kids. Great. But the other tough questions are, what happens if my spouse dies at the same time I do? What happens if my kid is underage? What happens if my kid is in the car and he's disabled? What happens if I leave the money to my kid and now my kid's an adult and they go through a divorce? What happens? Those types of issues we can answer in an estate plan. But if we answer it in an estate plan, we got to consider your retirement accounts, your life insurance, the stuff that has beneficiaries on them, because that stuff doesn't go through the will. I hope this makes sense. And I hope that something about this episode has got you considering doing some better planning for your family. Right? Now, here's how you can do it. And here's how you avoid the mistake of screwing it up on the internet and the uneasiness of going to the traditional law firm. Is during the pandemic, my practice has gone almost entirely virtual. We're doing online workshops, we're doing online client meetings. I'm running the whole thing on Zoom. 80% of it we're doing on Zoom, okay? And the whole world in the last 12 months has gotten a lot more familiar with Zoom and online stuff. And so I had an idea, that is, why not provide an online offering that doesn't stink? And so what we did was we created an online course. It's called the Life and Legacy course, and you can find it at secklerlawfirm.com. That's my law firm's website, SECHLER lawfirm.com. And if you go to secklerlawfirm.com, right now you will go to the workshops tab, and then you'll find the Life and Legacy course. And you go on the Life and Legacy course and you sign in, and the course takes you through a series of videos. I think there's 4 or 5. They're not long. I think the longest one may be 8 minutes or something like that. And you watch the educational content where I tell you how to do some of this stuff, okay? And by the time you finish the course, which should take you about an hour, maybe a little bit longer, but by the time you finish the course, you're going to have made probably 2/3 of the decisions you need to make to do an effective estate plan. But what I know is the other stuff that I don't cover in the course, or that I don't ask you to make a decision on in the course, that's the stuff that requires some real advice. Now, and we need to say, hey, look, in the course, we don't talk about the tax clause in your will. And in the course, we don't talk about distribution standards of underage trust. There's things that we just don't talk about because that itself could take a long time to explain, and you would log out of the course. And the goal is not to be, we're not teaching law school here. The goal is to give you a tool to effectively complete your estate plan. And so You go through the course, and at the end of the course, you can access my calendar or one of the other attorneys' calendars. When you complete the course, you get a link and you can access the calendar, and we give you a free 30-minute consultation. And during the free 30-minute Zoom consultation, we'll review the answers that you gave us during the course. And we'll say, okay, well, I saw that you put this, but maybe you should think about it this way. Maybe we should handle this slightly different than the way you answered the question. And you get real experienced estate planning lawyers' advice on how to do it. And we're doing this on Zoom. Don't take the day off of work. Don't drive downtown. Don't pay to park. Don't ride up the big elevator. Just take 20 minutes or half an hour, or however long it takes. Take it away from work. Your boss will understand. We'll do the Zoom meeting. You could be at your job. Your spouse could be at their job. We'll all be on Zoom together. We'll figure out how we can best serve you, what the best options are, answer any questions. And we're going to review things like, do you have enough life insurance? Do you have the right disability coverage? Not that I sell that stuff. I don't sell that stuff. But my goal is to get you a plan that works. And so I might say, hey, you may want to consider bumping up the life insurance a little bit. Okay. So we look over the thing, and then we tell you about our pricing, which is 100% flat fee. There's no billable hours here. The will costs this. The trust costs this. It's competitive in the marketplace. It's super simple. You haven't taken a day off work. You took an online course. You skipped one night of Netflix with your spouse. Okay. Look, Game of Thrones can wait. The Penguins will be on next week. Take a night off of that stuff. Watch the online course. Schedule the free consult. We'll take a half an hour out of your work day. You'll speak with one of our lawyers. We'll design a really good estate plan for you. Then you come up to the office and you sign it. You only need to come once, because in Pennsylvania, you still need to sign these things in person, and we like to do it in front of witnesses with notaries and all the rest. We want the thing to be legit. And then you're done. It's super simple, guys. Do the right thing. Get a good estate plan for your family. And do it in a way that doesn't require you to burn all your vacation days. So that's the Life and Legacy course, and you find the course at secularlawfirm.com. And for those parents, for those grandparents out there, if you're my retirees, my baby boomers that are listening to the show, and you need to do your own estate plan, it's a great place to start. Do we get into all the detail and all the elder law stuff? No, but we can catch you up at the free consult. So the Life and Legacy course isn't only for kids. And so what I would say to you, my grandparents out there, is if you need to do your own estate plan, there's a fairly high chance that your kids need to do an estate plan too. And we can coordinate how best to plan for these grandbabies by doing this whole thing in an organized fashion. So maybe there's a way that we can do your plan. Maybe there's a way we can help you do your kids, and just have a big old family discussion. Maybe not. That doesn't work in every family. Some families have conflicts, and some families don't get along great, and all the rest. But if you've got grandkids, I hope that you found this show interesting. If you're a parent, I hope you found this show interesting. I hope I urged you to move forward, because I could introduce you to clients who have where young parents have passed. And I can tell you that the things I hear from them are, man, I wish we would have done some more planning. I wish we'd have had some answers to these questions. I wish we would have had more life insurance. I wish. Folks, don't wish. Do what you got to do. Do what you know you're supposed to do. Do the right thing for your kids. All right? secularlawfirm.com. Thanks for listening to the Life and Legacy show today. Look, we got a little deep, but I've seen some things here in the last few weeks that really bugged me a little bit. And we just have to be real about our duties as parents and our duties as grandparents, and how we can do this thing effectively. And I think the real reason people don't do this is it's just inconvenient. And no, they don't want to think about it. Some of you had trouble getting through this episode, right? Because it's hard to think about this stuff. It's hard to think about you not being there anymore. But parenting is hard. This is just part of it. Parenting is hard. And in planning for your kids and making sure that they've got the right tools, the right resources that would be there for them if you pass away. And it goes from the first day, we want to have a good plan, until their 16th birthday, we want to have a good plan. And on their 18th birthday, we want to have a good plan. And on their 21st birthday, we want to have a good plan. And on their 30th birthday, we want to have a good plan. And that starts now. You can answer a lot of those questions now. you can tell your kids now what you think marriage is about. Record a video because you don't know that you're going to be there. Record a video telling your grandkids what your 16th birthday was like. What was your first car? Anyway, we need to do good estate planning. We need to think this thing through, and I'd like to help you. I thank you for listening to the Life and Legacy Show this week. I hope it wasn't too difficult to get through for you. Remember, don't make legal decisions based on the things that you hear on this radio show. And that starts now. You can answer a lot of those questions now. You can tell your kids now what you think marriage is about. Answer a lot of those questions now. Don't wait any longer. Let's get this thing done. Go to thesecularlawfirm.com. Check out the Life and Legacy course. After the course, you'll have a free consult with one of us. Don't do any estate planning based on anything you heard on this show or anything you read on the internet. Estate planning is done by lawyers, and it's complicated stuff. It's more complicated than you may think. Don't follow to the advertising of the stuff on the TV. You really do need some help with this stuff. I would be honored to help your family and set this thing up for you. So thanks for listening this week. We'll see you again next week. Birthday, we want to have a good plan. And that starts now. You can answer a lot of those questions. And that starts now. And that starts now. Let's get the planning done now. Let's get the thing complete now. Don't put the thing off another day. Go to secularlawfirm.com, find the Life and Legacy course, go through it and have the free consultation with me or one of the other lawyers. Remember, folks, don't make any estate planning or legal decisions based on what you hear on this or any other radio show. This is for your education. I hope you found it educational. More information, go to secularlawfirm.com. You grandparents out there that listen to the show and think, man, Billy or Bobby's got to hear this. My kids have to hear this. This show is available as a podcast on Apple, iTunes, or Spotify. If you don't know how to do that, your kids probably do. So send them there. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks a lot.